At 2:17 a.m., a weather satellite orbiting above the eastern hemisphere captured something no scientist could explain. In a single frame, the imperial capital glowed like every other night. Towers of gold and glass shining against the darkness, highways alive with streams of white headlights, giant government monuments illuminated beneath the clouds. Then, exactly 3 seconds later, the entire city vanished into blackness. Not district by district, not building by building. Every light across the capital shut off at the exact same moment. Power plants died. Communication towers stopped transmitting. Military radar disappeared. Even emergency backup systems failed instantly. To the outside world, it looked as if someone had switched off an entire civilization with a single command.
Within minutes, panic spread through intelligence agencies around the globe. Emergency calls flooded international defense networks. Trading markets froze as billions disappeared from Imperial-controlled accounts. Military satellites repositioned toward the region, expecting signs of invasion, missile strikes, or nuclear fallout. But there was nothing. No explosions, no fires, no damaged infrastructure. The Empire had simply gone dark. Inside a monitoring station in Northern Europe, analysts replayed the satellite footage repeatedly, searching for evidence of attack. One investigator noticed something strange. The blackout did not spread naturally. It happened faster than physics should allow, almost like the city had rehearsed it. By sunrise, the first reconnaissance drones entered Imperial airspace. What they found made the situation even more terrifying. The airports were empty, not abandoned in chaos, abandoned neatly.
Passenger planes sat perfectly aligned on runways, as if waiting for pilots who would never return. Luggage carts remained parked beside terminals. Air traffic control screens still flickered inside silent towers, but there were no workers, no passengers, no guards. At the largest military harbor in the Empire, dozens of warships floated motionless in the water, with engines cold and weapons untouched. Fighter jets remained lined up inside underground hangars, yet every soldier had disappeared. Across the capital, surveillance drones drifted through endless empty streets. Traffic lights continued changing colors for roads with no cars. Restaurant meals still steamed on untouched tables. Television screens played state propaganda to vacant rooms. It felt less like a disaster and more like humanity had been erased mid-sentence. News channels across the world abandoned regular broadcasting. Every screen carried the same headline.
The Empire has vanished. Financial markets collapsed into panic. Nations closed borders fearing biological warfare or cyber invasion. Religious leaders declared the blackout a prophecy. Online conspiracy groups exploded with theories ranging from alien contact to secret nuclear evacuation. But behind closed doors, world governments feared something far worse. What if the Empire had planned this? Because unlike an ordinary collapse, there was no evidence of confusion inside the capital. No riots, no emergency broadcasts, no failed evacuation attempts. Everything looked controlled, intentional, almost peaceful. Then came the transmission. Roughly 6 hours after the blackout, intelligence officers intercepted a classified signal buried deep within encrypted military frequencies. The signal had originated beneath the Imperial Palace, exactly 4 minutes before the city went dark. The recording was heavily distorted. At first, analysts believed it was corrupted audio. But after enhancing the file, they realized it was a human voice repeating the same sentence over and over again in an unknown language. The words sounded ancient, rhythmic, almost ceremonial. Linguists from 12 countries failed to identify the dialect, yet one detail disturbed them all. The speaker sounded calm, not frightened, not desperate, prepared, as though the end had been expected for a very long time.
Inside a secure intelligence bunker, officials replayed the message through advanced audio filters. One elderly translator suddenly froze while listening. His face turned pale. "What is it?" another analyst asked. The old man didn't answer immediately. He kept staring at the waveform on the monitor as the strange voice repeated the sentence again and again. Then he whispered softly,
"That's not a warning." The room fell silent. The audio continued echoing through the speakers. And then the translator finished his sentence. "It's a countdown." The screen cuts to black. The first helicopter arrives over the imperial capital at dawn. From above, the city looks untouched, almost too perfect. No smoke, no destruction, no panic, just silence. When the international emergency team lands, the first thing they notice is how unnatural everything feels. A half-eaten meal still steams inside a roadside cafe. A newspaper lies open to a page mid-fold, as if someone vanished while turning it.
Traffic lights continue to cycle endlessly over empty intersections. Yet there is not a single body, not one trace of struggle. Even pets are gone. One investigator whispers, "This isn't evacuation, it's subtraction." As they move deeper into the government district, they find something worse. Hidden symbols carved beneath marble foundations. Not graffiti, not modern markings. These symbols are precise, ancient, almost ritualistic, and they match inscriptions found in ruins that predate recorded empire history. Then comes the breakthrough. Security servers, somehow still partially powered, begin playing a final corrupted footage file. The timestamp is just minutes before the disappearance. Thousands of citizens are seen walking calmly toward underground metro entrances. No fear, no confusion.
As if they had rehearsed it. A military analyst pauses the footage. Look at their eyes. They're not being forced. They're following something. Something off-screen. The final frame freezes on a child standing still in the crowd. She turns toward the nearest surveillance camera. Her lips move slowly. "They told us the surface would die first." The feed cuts to black, and every backup file across the system deletes itself simultaneously. Deep inside classified archives, a sealed folder surfaces with no author, no origin, and no classification history. Only one label: "Do not dig up again." Inside are photographs from a mountain excavation in the late 1970s. The images show something impossible. A metallic structure, partially buried beneath bedrock, smooth as glass, yet reflecting no light. Its surface appears alive, shifting subtly between angles when viewed from different photographs. At the time, miners reported hearing sounds coming from inside the rock itself. The project was immediately erased. Workers disappeared. The site was buried under military-grade concrete and forgotten by official history, except for one scientist. Recovered audio diaries reveal his descent into obsession and terror. At first, he describes excitement, the belief they discovered a relic of unknown civilization. Then the tone shifts. He begins hearing responses from the object, not language in the human sense, more like layered communication, overlapping voices forming patterns inside his thoughts. On the final recording, his breathing is unstable. He is no longer at the site. He whispers, "It's learning how we think." A long pause. Then, in a voice that is not his own, it already knew. The tape ends with a sharp metallic vibration, like something striking the inside of a sealed wall.
The imperial palace was never just a symbol of power. It was a cover. A vertical world built downward instead of upward.
When investigators breach the hidden access point beneath the throne chamber, they expect tunnels. Instead, they find infrastructure. Entire subterranean districts stretch beneath the capital like stacked civilizations. Hydroponic farms glowing under artificial suns. Residential zones fully furnished. Military labs still powered. Transport rails disappearing into darkness. It is not an evacuation shelter. It is a second nation. But something is wrong. The deeper they travel, the more abandoned everything feels. Not destroyed, not invaded, simply abandoned in urgency.
Dishes left mid-meal. Power systems still running. Emergency lights still flashing warnings no one returned to acknowledge. A technician finds a personal log still open on a terminal. We were not the first to build here. Then, the discovery. A colossal steel door embedded into bedrock, far deeper than any mapped infrastructure. The surface is covered in multilingual warnings. Dozens of languages, some unknown, some extinct, all repeating variations of the same instruction. Do not open until the surface event is complete. One soldier laughs nervously. What surface event? No one answers, because no one wants to be the first to suggest the Empire wasn't preparing for war, but for timing.
At first, the world refuses to believe anything meaningful can be extracted from the Empire's final transmission. It is just static, repetition, broken signal fragments. But when linguistic AI systems reconstruct the pattern, everything changes. The message is not a warning. It is a schedule, a precise forecast of global collapse, solar instability patterns, atmospheric chain reactions, deep ocean chemical shifts, magnetic field anomalies accelerating faster than natural explanation allows. Individually, each prediction sounds theoretical. Together, they form a timeline, and that timeline is already in motion. Governments publicly dismiss the findings. Privately, they panic. Within days, underground construction projects begin in multiple countries. None announced, none acknowledged. Then, the whistleblower leak hits global media. Footage shows world leaders entering sealed underground facilities. Not after debate, but after direct contact from unknown imperial channels. One president is seen hesitating at the entrance. A voice off camera says,
"You don't need to believe it. You just need to survive it." He walks in. The door seals behind him. And the world above slowly realizes the same terrifying thought. The Empire didn't disappear because it collapsed. The investigation into the Empire's financial systems uncovers something that shakes the global elite to its core. Hidden inside encrypted banking corridors are decades of transactions, quiet, deliberate, and structured like a secret religion of wealth. For years, the world's richest individuals weren't just investing in markets, they were paying for survival. Deep underground access within the Empire had been quietly sold as the ultimate insurance policy against global collapse. Private jets, offshore accounts, shell corporations, everything was just a disguise for one purpose: securing a place below the surface. But not everyone made it.
a classified registry surfaces, listing thousands of elite names tied to a single program known only as the Descent Protocol. Next to many names is a single word stamped in red ink: rejected. No explanation, no appeal, no second chance. Then the pattern becomes terrifying. Within 72 hours of rejection, several billionaires die under impossible circumstances. Luxury yachts vanishing mid-voyage, private planes losing all communication mid-air, penthouses sealed from the inside. As investigators dig deeper, one final hidden directive is uncovered. Survival is not purchased. It is granted by lineage compliance. And suddenly, the question shifts from who was saved to who was chosen to disappear.
At first,
The world refuses to connect the dots. The vanished empire is treated as an isolated anomaly. Then, reality begins to fracture. Entire oceans turn unnaturally still, as if life beneath the surface has stopped responding. Satellite systems detect sudden atmospheric distortions forming in geometric patterns across continents. Power grids fail without explanation, then restart, then fail again in synchronized waves. The chaos is not random, it is structured. Governments attempt to restore order, but internal systems begin collapsing from within. Classified servers erase themselves. Emergency protocols override human command. Military satellites drift out of control. Then, panic turns into belief. A growing number of people begin to think the impossible. The empire didn't vanish because of disaster. It vanished because it knew something was coming. Underground explorers reopen deeper imperial tunnels, pushing past sealed sections never meant to be accessed again. What they discover freezes every conversation. A colossal underground city, not abandoned for thousands of people, but built for millions. And at its center, a massive digital countdown embedded into the core structure. Time remaining, 72 hours.
A multinational military expedition finally breaches the deepest sealed region beneath the empire. The air is warm. Not natural underground warmth, but engineered climate control. Lights are still functioning. Machines still running. Systems still active. And food freshly prepared. The empire never left. It only moved deeper. Then, without warning, every screen inside the facility flickers on simultaneously. A calm, emotionless voice fills the corridors. You were never authorized to reach this layer. Doors unlock on their own. From the darkness, soldiers emerge wearing Imperial insignia uniforms, perfectly intact, perfectly disciplined. But something is deeply wrong. Their movements are too synchronized, their expressions too empty, like they are following instructions they cannot question. One soldier removes his helmet. He looks human, but wrong. His skin shows no aging markers, no emotional response, no recognition of time passing. When asked how long they've been down here, he simply replies, "We never went down, we stayed." Then every soldier turns at once toward the expedition team, not aggressively, but like observers waiting for a conclusion already decided. Deep core analysis finally decrypts the classified origins of the underground structure discovered in the 1970s. It was never a technological artifact. It was containment, a prison built by something far older than any known civilization. Not designed to hold prisoners, but to hold something that should not exist in layers above it. When the Empire discovered it, they did not try to study it. They tried to understand how long it had been weakening, because the structure was not stable. It was failing, and whatever was inside was not asleep. It was adapting. The Empire's decision to go underground was not preparation for disaster. It was containment strategy, a way to physically place humanity between the surface and the prison, like a living barrier. Then, seismic readings confirmed the worst possible development: movement. Not random shifts, not tectonic pressure, but intentional direction. Something massive beneath Earth's crust has begun moving with purpose, and it is heading upward. With surface civilization collapsing into chaos, the world loses all remaining stability. Governments dissolve, communication networks fragment, entire cities become ungoverned zones of panic and survival. Then, without warning, the underground begins to open. Across multiple continents, sealed Imperial access points activate simultaneously. Massive structures rise from beneath mountains.
deserts, oceans, and the empire returns. But it is no longer the empire the world remembers. It is refined, expanded, militarized beyond recognition. Technology beyond modern understanding powers entire underground fleets, defense systems, and autonomous command networks.
A global transmission is broadcast. The Emperor speaks. We did not abandon the surface. We preserved what it failed to protect. We were not hiding from extinction. We were preparing for judgment. But then, the final contradiction breaks everything open. A team returns to the original containment chamber. It is empty. No prison, no entity, no evidence of anything ever being held there. And in the deepest surveillance feed, a final recording appears, time-stamped just seconds before system failure. A shadow moves through the lowest tunnel, not breaking anything, not escaping anything, simply passing through. And every underground citizen is seen kneeling as it moves above them. The Empire was not in control of it. The Empire was reacting to it. Final text appears on screen. It was never contained beneath the world because it was already inside it.